Let's segue. Because like honestly, we'll know more about this Vince stuff.
But do you guys have any? I'm more interested. I mean, from my perspective, from a discussion standpoint, do you have any inkling of how? Like, do you expect to see something different? Not so early as tonight because it's sudden, but do you expect to see a very different show at Madison Square Garden, like less wrestling, more like adult content? Vince
I have no clue.
Changes to SummerSlam. Like, what do you expect?
Look, let me tell you this because this is very. I was thinking about this the other day or today actually. Okay, and I'm Konnan. We watched we've been watching the Flair doc. Have you been watching the Ric Flair documentaries leading up to his last match, Billy?
I watched the beatdown angle. I thought it was good.
Okay, both of all of the content is excellent. All right?
Mm-hmm.
But and Konnan will reiterate this. This is very interesting. Jeff is a major player now, and I think he's in a big wig in the creative. And one thing I did notice is bro, remember how Jeff was always this old school guy, and me and Dutch and Vince always used to argue about this. Jeff would always want to explain why the camera is there. Like one of these old school guys, like say, well, why is the camera here? Well, you can't just do a scene. You have to explain. Well, so and so here was so you have to explain why the camera's there, but to kayfabe, right? But they shot that Flair doc, and the content was excellent. You can tell it's a 2-camera shoot, overly produced, everything. I'm wondering if Jeff now has kind of got married to the idea. Okay, look, it's a TV show. We can shoot whatever we want. You know what I mean? If you've watched. Jeff has been doing a lot of content creation and matches he's had. He wrestled that Effie kid on a GCW show, and they did really good video leading up to that and everything. And now it's going to TV 14, right? And I know that they know a lot of guys in that production, guys like Borash and everything. They have a lot of very creative guys. I'm wondering if we see more now of these cinematic storytelling that we're seeing a little bit more of. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you think they could be going that direction, Konnan?
I don't know. It's very weird. I don't know. I don't know what. It's just going to be very interesting to see. I think that, probably Hunter. We've seen the great job he did at NXT. We've seen the great job Tony Khan has done. I've never heard anything good about Stephanie, but she might have learned the business while she was out and, said, if I ever go back, I'm going to do this, this, and this. And I'm sure when they were in the outside looking in, they were thinking, if we ever get in charge, we're going to change all these things. Vince has been in his own bubble since the beginning, so he doesn't, he just does whatever he wants to do. He's the boss. It's going to be very weird that I think the guy that really brought wrestling to how we know it today and has affected every promotion in so many ways is no longer here. Obviously, having 51% controlling interest doesn't mean he's completely out, but he's out of creative, and that's a big deal. He's held that show back in a lot of ways. Well, but I will say this, the show compared to what it was 2, 3, 4 years ago, which was absolutely, there's no way you could sit through it. It's gotten better, both of them, and I think it will get better, and so I
wonder, all these stupid.
And I think, guys like Jeremy Borash, who's mega creative, Jeff Jarrett, they're going to go up in that system. I think it would be stupid because you're mad at Bruce Pritchard to fire him. You should keep him. He knows too. You want all hands on deck. You don't got to get along with everybody. You don't got to get back at everybody, and so that's a thing in WWE that I've always found very petty. Let's bring him back and bury him while he's here. They did that to so many of my friends. Just signed him to bury them, just to remind them, hey, remember the last time you didn't want to sign and you acted like I'm willing to pay you 4 more years and make your life miserable. How about that? I've always hated that about WWE. It's like, bro, don't make people's already miserable lives being in WWE, which is very hard, very competitive. As we all know, you got to look a certain way, dress a certain way, act a certain way. It's very, very hard. You're not a normal person, and you're dealing with a lot of and it changes your psyche, and then you still got people with you. Yeah.
I think creatively, too, we're going to see a more of a more directed back towards common sense stuff. Because perfect example. Remember how Vince has all these rules? You have to call it a title opportunity.
Right.
Yeah, you have to call it a medical facility.
Yeah.
You can't say ambulance. You know, like all these quirky, goofy things that were Vince McMahon, and they just take those and just dump them in the trash bin.
Right.
Guys can come out on TV and say, "Hey, I'm fighting for the strap." You know, say I want a title shot. You know, stuff like the verbiage on the show might get grounded back more into more a realistic base than all these weird rules that Vince had and everything. I think, especially now going to TV 14. I guarantee you, I think maybe starting tonight or even Monday, you know, if Vince is out of the creative process, I'd be interested to see what the verbiage is like in the promos. You know what I'm saying? Because they've always talked like the promos have always kind of like advertisements. You know, this Saturday night at SummerSlam on October 23rd, I'm going to, you know, that, like how people just talk like this is not how a normal person would talk. I wonder if that's going to change now that Vince is out of the creative process. Because I know he writes a lot of the promos.
And not only that, you got to remember, Hunter's from the Attitude Era, and he saw how well that worked. And I'm sure that after being, you know, so many people burying him and saying, "Oh, this PG it sucks, this kitty sucks," which obviously we all know why they did it, and they made a lot of money off of it, you know, gearing it for kids. Okay, but if that were to come back to raunchiness, bro, I think the ratings would go up.
They absolutely would. We know what. There's formulas out there that are data driven that draws.
Right. Hot girls and bikinis, fucking appeal, violence, bad words. Yeah, all that from the 90s. We bring that re-attitude back into the 20s, you know, within the parameters of the 20s, because, you know, we're a lot more politically correct than we were before. Right. You got something there, bro. Because those are young guys. Those are young. There's a lot of young people in that locker room that are hip. It could probably do a lot of cool.
Yeah,
that's the thing. I'm optimistic about the fact that the filter now is not a 77-year-old guy who he's not even a normal 77-year-old guy. Some 77-year-old guys know what's going on in the world and everything, whereas he's very much in the wrestling bubble, and he's always lived in it. Whereas now, I think there's a lot more opportunities. Yeah, okay, maybe guys like Jarrett and whatnot are in their 50s, but they still, like Konnan said, came through the Attitude Era. This week, I was watching AEW, which was weird because I just listened to your guys' podcast with Conrad, and you made a point about how AEW don't explain anything and how everybody kind of goes in, you know, cold for a new viewer. This week I saw Taz, a guy from ECW, a guy from the Attitude Era, and there was a match between Brody King and Darby Allin. And he was saying this sentence. He kept saying, if you've never watched AEW before and you're seeing this small guy in here being beaten up by this big heavyweight, don't be mistaken. Like this guy can withstand this beating. This guy's very resilient. He was trying to explain, like, if you were watching this for the first time, why this isn't a mismatch, why this isn't a joke, why this isn't what it looks like if you're a casual fan or whatever. And that was the first time I saw anybody in that company even acknowledge that somebody might be switching the on for the first time, because they're so ignorant to the fact that, you know, that they have a fan base which is supposed to know who Japanese wrestlers are and is supposed to know what happened on last week's show.
Let me ask you a question, Billy. Yeah. When Thunder Rosa said, "Hey, Umasuta," or whoever the she said, "You're the best in Japan," did you go, who? Who?
I did that.
Not even a picture, not a video, not anything. Go look it up if you can pronounce it.
Right. So
that's the thing. I strongly feel that Taz from your guys' era decided to do that himself. Like I think he has an idea in his mind that we are not catering for new viewers or casual viewers at all. So I'm going to sit here and explain this about why this kid is fighting against this heavyweight and why it's a fair fight. Like, I just noticed that, and it was very relevant. Maybe I noticed it more because I just listened to the Conrad conversation where he was saying he still enjoys AEW, and your criticism was both your criticisms were that exact thing where they don't recap or anything. They just assume everybody's religiously watching everything, and their ratings alone will tell you that's not the case. If you lose 400,000 people from the day that you debuted to now, that means that not everybody's watching on a week-to-week basis. But there's a lot of ignorance in that company, or I would say is it.
Well, not that. You also have to think. Okay, this is called Fyter Fest, so almost all the shows that are branded do better. You knew there was going to be blood because they're in a shark cage, okay? By the way, I wish somebody would have clotheslined Munchie, the Sharky, or whatever that shark was that was standing next to Shivani. I wish he would have put Jeff Jarrett would have put the boots to him like he did the Flair. But anyways, what was I telling you? I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. What did I say?
You were talking.
Go on, sorry. Go on.
Yeah.
Hey, lost your train. All right, whatever. This happens. You were in Iran, Konnan?
Yes.
You were talking about
Shark Cage, the mascot.
So here's Fighter Fest. There's
the Brandon shows do better.
In a Shark Cage.
Right.
Which means blood. Eddie Kingston and Jericho in some sort of blood feud. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Bro, they did not. The rating did not go up, and you got to think, well, what's going on now?
I keep pointing that out, and I get hate from people and stuff. Even like I tweeted,
because the show. I will say this:
Brock has walked out.
Excuse me.
Brock has walked out. I just got the text now. I just was checking.
Do we know why, Billy?
I'll find out.
Yeah,
I'll find out. Now.
Thank you.
I keep going, Konnan.
And so. You just got to wonder why, because, bro, the show started off really hot. That Brody Lee match with
Brody King and Darby.
Brody King, my bad, against Darby Allin was really, really, I thought it was really good. Very physical. He beat the out of him. When Darby did his it was reckless but vicious. And then he choked him out at the end, which I really didn't expect, and then Miro came out.
Then we had an awkward out again.
Right. But Miro came out, which was still kind of cool, and look how much cooler he looks than when he first showed up with the Donald Duck outfit. Remember?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, but you see, like the funny thing about that, we talked about the awkward outs, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so they were beating up Sting and Darby. They were choking out Sting. Okay, the music played. They all stopped. Miro came down halfway down the aisle, and they stared at each other, and they just went to commercial break.
Right.
It's like, that should have been like either like Miro steps in the ring and the heels powder, but it was just like another like weird awkward out. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and bro, the rest of the show was like underwhelming.
Yep.
Like the match, bro. If you're doing a branded show like that, we would think the matchups would be more compelling. But the best friends against Wheeler Yuta and Moxley, it's like, why? I know there's a connection between Wheeler Yuta and the best friends at back. But they didn't tell any storyline or anything to build this up, like to make that match. Like no one reviews it. They just like had it. The announcer and saying this. It's like, I don't know. It's a different show than we're used to.